Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It was a day full of drama. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and hit that bell notifications if you want updates of when I post new content. For example, when there's a verdict, in this case, I will do a YouTube short. And if you have that little bell icon clicked, you'll get a notification that I'm going live. All right. I'm going to play videos that were shown at the end of court today. At first, I had no clue what the prosecutor was doing because it was dash cam, body cam video of them responding to domestic violence incidents between Sarah and George. You see George get handcuffed a couple of times, but it became so clear. And this was a mic drop moment, in my opinion, that undid everything the defense did. I think it took away any credibility she had on that stand. This could be what sinks her. First, there was some other drama in the court today. The defense had jurors read the no contact order against George, and then they rested. So the witness for rebuttal was Tanya Werner. She's a forensic psychiatrist, and it was long and drawn out. I'm going to give you guys the bottom line. In her deposition, she said Sarah did have battered spouse syndrome, but she changed her mind and on the stand said on the night of the incident, Sarah was not suffering from that and there was no imminent threat. And as you know, that's the defense's entire case, is she felt imminent threat, although she said she left enough room for him to get out and went to sleep. The jury was sent out. The defense says this witness should not be able to testify to anything except the medical aspect of it. They went back and forth, but on cross, she mainly works on a competency unit. She helps make the determination if an accused is legally sane or not and able to stand trial. She testifies in the Baker Act court weekly, and she's testified in court 10 times for intimate violence cases. The state asks her, after you evaluated Sarah on October 2nd, 2024, do you believe she has a generalized anxiety disorder? And the witness says no. Now, that's a contradiction as to what this witness said yesterday. The defense says, you know, she was previously diagnosed. And the witness said, she told me she had, but the witness couldn't find anything in her medical records with that diagnosis. She did diagnose her with adjustment disorder and points out that a lot of the symptoms between anxiety disorder and adjustment disorder overlap. Well, what is adjustment disorder? It's excessive reactions to stress that involve negative thoughts, strong emotions, and changes in behavior. The reaction to a stressful change or event is much more intense than would be typically expected. The defense says, when I took your deposition, you couldn't make your mind up between the two diagnoses. She said she had not made a clinical decision at that time. And so he asked, when did you make the decision it was adjustment disorder versus anxiety? And she said, probably within that next week. He says, but you didn't notify me. There was an objection that was sustained, but you had questions between the two disorders. The witness says that leaning to adjustment secondary to being in jail was her opinion. She didn't have anything in the medical records to suggest any kind of anxiety disorder. He asked, is this the first time you've let the parties know she has an adjustment disorder? And she says yes. From your evaluation, you said she had a grandiosity issue, which is a narcissistic personality disorder trait. And the defense points out a lot of people have one trait on that scale. And the witness said, I never said she was a narcissist. He talks about her having an alcohol use disorder. And the witness said she had a history of being diagnosed with that. She herself said it had been problematic. It was based on the totality of the information the witness had, the medical records. The ex-husband, in his interview with police, said she was an alcoholic, as well as Sarah describing herself as one. Do you acquire a tolerance? And she said that is one criteria. And then he asked about a genetic tolerance, and she said that could come into play. She does agree there was a violent cycle between Sarah and George. Do you agree George was the abuser and Sarah was the victim? The witness says in the police report it does, but her ex-husband describes her as being the aggressor. He goes on to show all the photos to the witness of Sarah being injured and says, you spent 2.5 hours evaluating, but did you go through the entire history of the abuse? No. She does agree Sarah suffers from battered spouse syndrome, and people like that may fear death in situations that other people do not. On redirect, she still doesn't think that battered spouse syndrome applies to the event of zipping George in the suitcase and leaving him to die. Based on her interview and how Sarah described them both laughing and having a good time, didn't indicate any triggers or trauma that would make that come into play. The state asks, can you say what happened or who the aggressor was in these photos? No. Would someone's alcohol use play into your credibility as them being the historian? Yes. If someone has battered spouse syndrome, is every action they take against their aggressor justified? No. So the state had me worried and confused. Like I said in the very beginning, they start playing this body cam footage. They play 911 calls, and it's very one-sided. You get Sarah's side, but not George's. And in a couple of those videos, you see George getting handcuffed and taken to jail, and he's very calm. He doesn't get angry. But then they bring in, just like the suitcase video, Sarah filming herself harassing and abusing George verbally. In every video, y'all, he is calm. He is taking it. He is at one point cowering against a wall. It is pitiful. And I can't describe these videos to you. I really encourage you to go watch these on the live stream today. It's probably the last 45 minutes or so of the live stream from today because it will break your heart. Now, I understand that there was mutual abuse in this relationship, and I have no doubt he laid hands on her butt. I think these videos throw the battered spouse syndrome out the window. And where yesterday I was worried that maybe this could end in a hung jury, I'm more confident now that this is going to be a slam dunk. Guilty. I could be wrong. Juries are unpredictable, but this was some powerful, powerful stuff to see. Cannot wait to talk to my friends that were in the courtroom to see what the jury was doing during these videos because Sarah is unhinged. She is provoking, and George at times is trying to de-escalate. In one video, she is coaching him on what to say in order to get the domestic violence charge against her dropped. Crazy stuff. A lot of the day really was hearings, motions. Mr. Owens, her defense attorney, did not know when to stop arguing with this witness. And I'm going to tell you, that poor witness on the stand, she was done. She had enough. She has a very memeable face. There were a lot of looks we could screenshot and use when you're annoyed with somebody because she gave those looks. But such a strong day for the state, and they needed this because a lot of us have felt that this was really kind of a weak presentation by the prosecution until today, because those videos to me alone would convict her. We will see. I'll cover closings tomorrow and those last 40 minutes of what they show. But in the meantime, please go watch these videos. They're not violent, but it does break your heart to see what George went through. And to me, no doubt, who was the aggressor in this relationship after seeing these? All right, guys, have a good rest of your evening. We will see you soon.